Welcome to a special edition of Message from the Streets. Today's topic, America hates black people. The Daunte Wright tragedy. 2 days ago, Kim Porter, former Minneapolis police officer, was given just 2 years for her murdering of 20-year-old Daunte Wright. And with good time and some other adjustments that may be made on her behalf, she will probably stay incarcerated at a federal camp for less than a year and a half. Just think about that, because she accidentally murdered Daunte Wright. Before I go into that, we got to remember 2 years back, Amber Gaia, European Caucasian so-called white woman, used her weapon and went in allegedly the wrong apartment and murdered a black man. So we got two European Caucasian women that have been given a pass to murder black men, and then want the community to be sympathetic to them in their plight. But no one has been sympathetic to the systematic racism that has been directed to so-called black youth, just black people in generally, no respect for our older people, no respect for our younger people, no respect for so-called black people at all. And the only reason that we're getting some type of respect because, we're getting educated and we're moving in certain types of avenues that attempt to bring, this country to the point where as though it will stop operating out of hypocrisy. So we had things back in the past, gerrymandering, redlining, all of this stuff is done by the local state governments, whereas though they systematically, maneuvered, the bordering lines for political reasons and to isolate the so-called black race, the black vote, So we have criminal element in the White House. We know Woodrow Wilson is a known racist. Then we have, that's 28th president. Then we have criminal element in the legislative branch of the White House. They the ones that, dealing with the, the gerrymandering and the redlining. And then, of course, we got the judiciary branch, where though these people have these positions of authority within the court system, the sheriffs back in the day, the judges, the lawyers, and all these people were white nationalists, racists. I'm not saying all European Caucasian people fit under that umbrella, but the ones that have made the plight of so-called African Americans, black people, Moors, here, Hebrew Israelites, here in the United States, have been in those positions and have terrorized the people. Just like this woman, Kim Porter. She done terrorized Daunte Wright's family, his mother, broken. And right in our face, they shows their hate. Now, what they did was very clever. They used an Asian judge, Regina Chu. She was the one that was behind the helm. She's driving the truck, being the face of white supremacists. And it doesn't surprise me because well-to-do so-called Asians in these positions, they have become Europeanized. They just as much as Caucasian when it deals with their opposition and hatred and their, they're distancing themselves from so-called black. So it doesn't surprise me. Miss Chu gonna get up there and say that people should have empathy for Miss Porter and her situation. She didn't mean to hurt Daunte Wright. Lady, you are a liar. Because if she was going to shoot him with the taser or blast him with her 9mm, she intended on hurting that man. She intended on hurting him to the point that she murdered him, took what she cannot give back, and that's his life. And sucking the life out of the black community at the same time, because we continue to see that even though that Chauvin, he was prosecuted to a nice length of the law for the killing of brother George Floyd. But right around the corner in Minneapolis, the same place, This woman goes free. And we know why. Because the system is rigged. The system has favor to their Caucasian daughters, crying crocodile tears for making mistakes that anybody else would have had to pay for. Now let's flip this situation around. Miss Regina Chu, if that was a so-called black woman who murdered a so-called European Caucasian so-called white youth or young man of the age of 20, do you think that you would have been so caring? No, you wouldn't have been, because the script doesn't call for you to be sympathetic for the so-called blacks. I think that you was actually coached to bring down this pitiful excuse of your judgment call in that place of authority. You should lose your job for that, because it was distasteful. You gave that woman 2 years. She's going to do probably 12 to 14 months. When the guidelines stated 6 to 8.5 years, Miss Chu. That stuff right there is why so-called blacks with any sense would never, ever trust this judiciary system as it is in its form today. Because the residue of systematic racism, the residue of white nationalism and white supremacy still reigns supreme, from the presidency to the judiciary branch and the legislative branch, down to the state and local operations of government. We're in the midst of an organized crime family. Everybody might not be on the same page, but everybody's receiving the benefits of being a part of the crime family when so-called mistakes is made. If you or I went out here and mistakenly murdered somebody, here in Washington, D.C., there is no self-defense, no type of law for that exonerate a person for murder. I know a man, he accidentally killed one of our friends. They gave him 5 to 15 for involuntary manslaughter. He ended up doing 10 years and 5 years on probation. He's a different man today. He made a mistake. He paid for his mistake, and now he's back in the society doing great things. Miss Porter, I'm just speechless. But it doesn't surprise me. Nothing that these European Caucasians do under the premises of narcissistic thought process, white supremacy, surprised me. And I'm not talking about all so-called Caucasian European descents that are migrants or immigrants here in the United States. Because there's no such thing as a natural-born American. Everybody came from somewhere else. And this place not even called America. But that's another story. Ladies and gentlemen, we had to gather ourselves and come away from the distractions, because they're telling you that your child could be next. Your child, your brother, your father, your sister, your mother can be the next victim of white supremacy, police, excessive force. And they're going to get away with it. They're going to get away with murder. They've been getting away with murder. They used to hang people, tar and feather people. Over in European countries, they was putting people in the guillotine, throwing them in, doing all types of torture type of things. So we shouldn't be surprised that the behavior of the governing factor will be at such a atrocity, nefarious type of activities in operation with so-called blacks. Once again, America, judiciary system, hates so-called black people. Ladies and gentlemen, let me see if I got something else. Oh yeah, one more thing. Miss Porter got 2 years and she had to pay $1,000 fine. Sickening. Sickening, I tell you. Then this Judge Chu, she never said anything about having any sympathy or empathy for Daunte Wright's mom and his family. This is so how lopsided and perverted and wicked this system really is. We need some balance. We got to do something different. It's like, what should we do? What can we do? We try to assimilate into the system and do our best to be best citizens. I'm not talking about everybody, but there are people out there that fit that shoe. And what has it gotten us? We got our brother George Floyd murdered. We got by police. We got our brother Bootham John murdered by police. We got our brother Daunte Wright murdered by police. When will this stop? Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to this special edition of Message from the Streets. At the end of the day, try to find peace within yourself. Sometimes that peace can get disturbed by situations like this, but reel yourself back in. Do whatever you gotta do. Meditate, pray, look to find, a better way of, dealing with your psychological trauma from this terrorizing system that we are under. Thanks again. Peace, love, blessings, and grace to all. Praise Him that raised Him.